Hello guys! Welcome to the Alrasta channel to discuss and explain the exciting storyline of your favorite series, SwallowedStar episode 172. In the previous episode, after discovering that Earth is a planet with immense potential that was modified by a super being in the past, Luofeng, as the ruler of Earth, felt he could no longer control the planet, which had become the target of many powerful forces. Ultimately, Luofeng was forced to sell Earth, except for its landmass, to a virtual company for 50 billion Hunyuan. At that time, Luofeng also received an email from the virtual company regarding a chain mission that would grant him numerous virtual company contribution points upon completion. In the first level mission, Luofeng was required to punish 18 high-ranking members of the Fire Phoenix organization on planet Bass. Since the organization was involved in slave exploitation and crimes, Luofeng immediately accepted and began the mission. What happens next? Without further ado, let's dive into the story. Located on the planet Bass, the story continues with the huge wood tribe being punished because the flamegrass rainbow they collected last year was less than 30% of what they were asked to collect. As compensation, 30% of the tribe's population will be taken by force to be sold as slaves. The residents, who have no power to fight back, can only resign themselves to their fate, and some of them are forced to part with their families. Before the slaves were taken away by the organization, one of the Fire Phoenix soldiers detected murderous intent coming from one of the houses nearby. Quickly, the soldier entered the house and dragged the young man out. It is known that the young man is named Long Luo, a warrior at the Star Traveler level, whose whereabouts were deliberately hidden by the tribal chief. Knowing that Long Luo is a warrior of great value if sold, the soldier decided to take him away to be sold as a slave. However, the tribal chief, who did not want to lose the only hope of the huge wood tribe, demanded that the soldier release Long Luo. Without saying a word, the soldier immediately beheaded the tribal chief. The soldier emphasized that if any member of the huge wood tribe dared to challenge his decision, it would be tantamount to defying the decision of their boss, Klaus. While stomping on Long Luo's head, the soldier insulted him and said that no matter what happened, the huge wood tribe would forever remain slaves, even if they tried to protect a genius like Long Luo, who was still at the Star Traveler level, as their protector in the future. After all, this wasn't the first time the huge wood tribe had a warrior at the Star Traveler level, but that was 800 years ago. And now, after seeing the potential Long Luo possessed, if he were trained to be stronger, his value would be hundreds of times higher than that of the other villagers. Hearing this, all the Fire Phoenix soldiers burst into laughter, overjoyed at the jackpot. Not long after, their joy was cut short by the presence of a terrifying figure, who was none other than Luofeng and Dylan. Kneeling down, the soldier began to explain that they were from the Fire Phoenix organization. Filled with fear, the soldier asked about Luofeng's purpose for coming and offered to guide him to meet the boss. However, Luofeng refused, as he intended to visit him on his own. With a gaze filled with mental strength, Luofeng easily obtained the information through the memories of the soldier in front of him. It was known that the Fire Phoenix organization had been acting ruthlessly toward the weak. They had even brutally massacred the villagers of the huge wood tribe in another village who refused to become slaves. Upon learning this fact, Luofeng wasted no time in sentencing all the Fire Phoenix soldiers before him to death. Hearing this, all the Fire Phoenix soldiers fled and scattered to avoid Luofeng. However, it was not that easy. Using the power of space law, Luofeng stopped the Fire Phoenix soldiers in their tracks and slaughtered them all with the sixth form of the Yanshen technique, Blade World. After the massacre, the huge wood tribe was immediately shocked to see the body parts of the Fire Phoenix soldiers falling to the ground, and they regarded Luofeng and Dylan as savior gods. Seeing the tribe's reaction, Luofeng asked Dylan why the arrival of a powerful being from another universe could be called a god. Was the term God so cheap from the huge wood tribe's perspective? Dylan explained that after the Fire Phoenix team purchased this planet, the local residents had become their slaves. Sadly, the huge wood tribe had been slaves for generations. In this universe, the weak could not control their own destiny. Meanwhile, Long Luo, who had witnessed Luofeng's immense power, wanted to offer himself as Luofeng's servant. Through telepathy, Luofeng communicated with Dylan, assessing that Long Luo possessed extraordinary potential and reminding himself of his struggles to become strong while still on Earth. Unfortunately, their luck was different. Luofeng had the golden-horned behemoth and the legacy of Master Huyan Bo, which had always enabled him to rise from adversity in this universe. Dylan responded to stay calm, as after the mission was completed, the Virtual Universe Company would take over the planets enslaved by the Fire Phoenix organization. In the future, these planets would develop normally, and talented children like Long Luo would receive training from the company. Relieved by Dylan's explanation, Luofeng decided to leave. Right after Dylan and Luofeng, who had become their saviors, left, the huge wood tribe panicked again. They were afraid that they would be executed by the Fire Phoenix organization, which had come to take revenge after the massacre. However, along with the enemy surveillance drones that exploded, Luofeng's voice echoed in the sky, saying that the Fire Phoenix organization, which had oppressed the original life on this planet, would soon perish. Planet Bass would no longer be a slave planet. Everyone would have the same opportunity for development as other habitable planets. For now, all they needed to do was wait for representatives from the Virtual Universe Company to arrive. "What's a virtual company?" asked Long Luo, who knew nothing about it. Next, we will head to the headquarters of the Fire Phoenix organization on the planet Bass. While on guard duty, the soldiers there noticed a danger alarm going off. But they remained calm, thinking that no force would dare to mess with an organization as powerful as theirs.
有董事大人在呢，怕什么？
崔朗星域还没有。
情报怎么响了？
势力干扰咱们火凤组。
Before the boss, or high-ranking official, finally emerged from his headquarters, he ordered all members to immediately leave the planet Bass in their respective aircraft. Without asking any questions, hundreds of aircraft immediately took off, trying as fast as they could to escape the planet. But unfortunately, one by one, they began to fall as they were hit by a rain of fire that appeared from the sky. The unexpected attack that caused many casualties on their side made the bald boss in front of the headquarters start to panic. Who else could have done that but Luofeng and Dylan beside him? When he saw who did it, Klaus bowed his head in respect to Luofeng and Dylan. These people have good eyesight, Dylan said. The bald man introduced himself as Klaus. He was a high-ranking member of the Fire Phoenix organization, which held 5% of the organization's shares. He had many businesses with the trade department of the Qianwu Universe Kingdom. Luofeng asked, "Is Klaus the one who has been supplying slaves to the 7th prince of the empire?" Yes. He admitted that he had been providing the prince with the best quality slaves. If Luofeng and Dylan were interested, Klaus could provide them with high-quality slaves, as long as they could survive. Klaus would give them everything he had. All the assets he owned in the Fire Phoenix organization could also be Luofeng's, on the condition that the bald man was allowed to live. Luofeng suddenly began counting all the members present. There were 3 domain masters, 101 universe-level members, 49 star-level members, and nearly 5,000 star travelers. It was known that Luofeng had already checked the backgrounds of all the members who had joined the Fire Phoenix organization. Finally, Luofeng pulled 5 members closer and declared that the 5 of them were innocent.
你们5人，其他所有。
Then what about the fate of the other members in front of Luofeng? Well, of course, they will all be sentenced to death.
全部死。
While Klaus could only beg for mercy, the other members tried to escape. And just like before, none of them managed to get away from Luofeng. He trapped all the members of the Fire Phoenix with the Golden Law's power, pulling them into one spot. As an execution, Luofeng used the claws he had obtained from the golden-horned behemoth's body and brutally tore his enemies apart. Some of them tried to fight back, though it had no effect. Well, at least they tried before dying, guys. Different from the bald-headed boss who was panicking in confusion, Luofeng, who attacked with his claws, looked increasingly terrifying after tearing apart all the Fire Phoenix soldiers. Next, only Klaus remained alone. When Luofeng stared at him with terrifying red eyes, Klaus's body shook violently, and he was completely unable to do anything. His fate was the same as the others, to become a piece of fresh meat. After witnessing Luofeng's actions following the cleanup, Dylan felt that Luofeng was more deserving of the title Bloodthirsty King than his master, who held that title. Previously, when Luofeng's eyes turned red, his brutality intensified due to the influence of the golden-horned behemoth's innate nature, which was inherently savage and bloodthirsty. Well, that didn't bother Luofeng. Besides, the ones he had just slaughtered deserved to die.
是血能至上该杀之人。
Long story short, Luofeng has now arrived on the planet Dripping. Together with Dylan, Luofeng visits a nightclub and targets several names on the execution list. They dance a little, taking advantage of being at the nightclub. First, Luofeng approaches one of the Fire Phoenix organization's high-ranking members named Lee. While Babata and Atuka are dancing, Dylan is patrolling the area. Before arriving at this nightclub, Luofeng had already killed Kevin, one of the high-ranking members of the Fire Phoenix. At that time, Luofeng had beheaded the man in front of his followers. There was also another high-ranking member of the Fire Phoenix, named Benedict. He too was easily killed by Luofeng. Now, in front of one of the Fire Phoenix high-ranking members, Mr. Lee, Luofeng is challenging him to a guessing game involving images or numbers on a Hunyuan coin. Then, Luofeng reveals Mr. Lee's secrets about the crimes he has committed, including rebellion, human trafficking, and misleading his followers. Before finishing them off, Luofeng started dancing around again, guys. He monitored the situation until he finally realized that everyone present was a member of the Fire Phoenix, who deserved to be exterminated. Without mercy, Luofeng once again activated the sixth form of Yanshen and sliced them apart with his flying knife. He eradicated the criminals who trafficked slaves and harbored perverted desires for power. Every penny they had earned was stained with blood. As sinners, they too must pay for their sins with blood.
拐卖人口，还欲望，他们赚的满除异己，满足权贵的变态，但他们的罪恶，每一分钱都沾染着鲜血，也理应用鲜血偿还。
Long story short, located in outer space, Bay and Asteroid Group, Luofeng has now punished 17 high-ranking members of Fire Phoenix, and now only one person remains. He is the big boss of Fire Phoenix, named Pan Shi. Dylan said that Pan Shi was actually a slave in the past. One day before the biochip was implanted in his head, he led his followers to escape from the slave planet and seek revenge against the slave traders hundreds of years later. Ultimately, Pan Shi used his power to create and establish the Fire Phoenix organization. Now, Pan Shi has reached the World Master level. Unlike the other high-ranking members, he rarely indulges in leisure and instead focuses on training in the asteroid region. Luofeng was quite impressed by Pan Shi's perseverance. Unfortunately, He has strayed from the path. As a leader, he has allowed his subordinates to commit heinous acts, killing countless slaves, despite the fact that he himself was once a slave. Due to the Fire Phoenix's actions, millions have suffered. Even innocent families have been destroyed because of their selfish pursuit of pleasure. That is why Luofeng has vowed to put an end to all of this. Meanwhile, Babata informed them that all the asteroids in front of them had been modified and equipped with various technologies, one of which was a laser weapon. So it could be said that the floating asteroids were Pan Shi's frontline defense fortress. Even if the Imperial Starfleet approached, they would be immediately swept away by the asteroid attack. Pan Shi is a very cautious person. However, according to Luofeng, such measures won't be able to stop his actions. Babata was certain that eliminating Pan Shi would be a more difficult task than taking out the 17 high-ranking Fire Phoenix officials earlier. Pan Shi himself was currently located in the Bay N asteroid cluster, marked by Babata on the asteroid star map number 82. Sure enough, as Luofeng's spacecraft drew closer, several asteroids detected his presence and unleashed destructive fire. Like a dancer, Babata, the pilot of the spacecraft, easily dodged all incoming attacks. In retaliation, Babata fired a single shot that split into multiple targets. In a single shot, several asteroids blocking the way exploded. After the asteroid defense was destroyed, an E-9 class spacecraft was seen behind it. Without hesitation, Luofeng asked Babata to destroy it immediately. Babata pressed the NOS button, instantly propelling the Yunmo ship forward to chase after the enemy aircraft that was trying to escape. Pan Shi, who appears to be controlling the spacecraft, tries to find an opening to bring down the Yunmo ship. He guides the Yunmo ship toward where Pan Shi has prepared another advanced asteroid that can fire destructive lasers. Before the attack landed, in the midst of the chase, Babata activated a protective barrier and combined it with blue lasers installed around the ship to protect the front. Finally, Babata increased the speed of the Yunmo to chase Pan Shi. Pan Shi, who appeared to be panicking, fired back laser attacks from the asteroid ball simultaneously, but Babata managed to avoid them all. A slight tremor caused by the enemy's shots did occur, but it wasn't a problem. There was no damage, guys. In the end, the Yunmo ship, moving at high speed, sliced through Pan Shi's ship using a blue laser that formed a blade. Since the spacecraft was already damaged, Pan Shi managed to escape from his exploding spacecraft. When Pan Shi tried to escape, Luofeng and Dylan suddenly appeared in front of him without him noticing. Pan Shi couldn't escape, but after seeing the two, who he didn't know, he thought there might be a misunderstanding. Talking about misunderstandings, it was Pan Shi who attacked first, said Dylan. Luofeng then introduced himself. He was a member of the Virtual Universe Company who had come to punish the Fire Phoenix organization and informed them that Luofeng had executed 17 of its high-ranking members. As the head of the organization, Pan Shi was responsible, and Luofeng stated that Pan Shi would be executed by his own hands. During the execution, Pan Shi asked if Luofeng wanted to use the person beside him, Dylan, who was at the immortal level, to bully him first. And once he was weak, Luofeng would step in. "What a coward, do it yourself," Pan Shi provoked. But Luofeng said Dylan wouldn't get involved in their matter. When Luofeng said that, Pan Shi smirked, thinking Luofeng was just a weakling. And finally, the battle began in the next episode, guys. Alright, thank you for watching until the end. And don't forget to support this channel with likes, subscribe, and comments. That's all from me. Bye.